If you've been waiting 5 years, that is absolutely ridiculous. You could have had 3 or 4 kids in between that stage.
I don't think that call's coming.
Clients saying, wow, has the market really dropped that much? Well, it's probably been similar for the last 6 to 12 months, to be honest. Where have you been?
In the near future, will we be able to buy hot Rolex models from the ADs on the spot?
2023, when the watch got discontinued, the floodgates just opened.
Do you think with the precious metal pieces, there'll be more of those in the window? Do you think they'll ever offer a discount on them again?
If we have any doubts regarding the authenticity of the watch,
you've probably got to buy more watches to be offered a steel sub-date than you have a Yacht-Master with the rhodium dial.
The new range, the Cubitus collection, which was announced, he gets a phone call from his AD and they offer him that watch. How much would you buy that watch for?
What I think with ADs is...
Hi guys, I'm Stuart and today I'm sitting here with John, Head of Purchasing here at Watch Trader.
Today we're going to be answering questions from our viewers about watches and the pre-owned watch market.
First question, John, coming from Instagram. He asked, should I trade my blue Sky-Dweller and Jubilee Sprite for a Panda Daytona? What's your thoughts?
Firstly, I would say no. But I think that all three of them are sought after watches, difficult to get. I think a Panda Daytona is probably the most sought after and most difficult to get. But I think that's a lot of 2 watches to swap for one.
It is.
Where do you see the market values at those watches?
If we just said all watches were brand new, 2024, blue Sky-Dweller, let's go Oyster, ballpark figure 18,000.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah.
Jubilee Sprite, ballpark figure 15,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for the Daytona that he's wishing to trade against, 27.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as long as there's an amount of money coming his way, around £6,000, then I think that's a fair trade. Would you agree?
Yeah, I'd say the list price, the blue Sky-Dweller is probably a similar list price to a ceramic Daytona. The Jubilee Sprite is probably a touch under 10,000. So I think...
It all depends on the variables, but if we just go brand new 2024, I would say a fair trade is around £6,000 exchange.
So the next question from Instagram is, in the near future, will we be able to buy hot Rolex models from the ADs on the spot?
Oh, I would hope so. I would love to think so, but no, I'm probably going to be the answer to that. Maybe on some occasions, someone who's going to be pretty lucky and pick somebody up at the airport or something like that. But in general, I would definitely say that.
John, as a buyer, what's the hottest watch somebody's called up to sell recently?
Greens and Wimbledons, but I think that's because more people ask for those.
Asking for them, yeah.
And they
customers
know that
are savvy.
People still
they
want them.
They know the watches which will sell a little bit above RRP, in which others don't. But it's pretty general what we get offered, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we get batches as well. Yesterday, I got offered probably 5 or 6 of the same watch from different parts of the country, and that might suggest that Rolex get an allocation of a certain model on the same day or what have you.
Are you still finding clients still being surprised at the price that you offer them? Because in their mind, they're expecting the watch market or the price that you've offered them to be higher.
Yes, I think a lot of people aren't in touch with the market like we are, so they've had the mindset that they made some easy money and they think that all watches are worth more than they cost and they're privileged to be offered a watch.
I always get a client saying, wow, has the market really dropped that much? Well, it's probably been similar for the last 6 to 12 months, to be honest with you.
Probably even longer.
Where have you been?
I think the key is, if you're offered something that you don't necessarily want to keep, make sure you ring somebody like us first, and then you don't get a nasty shock.
Well, that's what you get every day.
Yeah.
Pretty much people are getting offered watches and they're going to be calling you, is this a watch to buy, John? Is this a watch I can make some money on? A lot of the cases now we're finding where the customers are offering you their pre-owned watches because they've been offered a brand new watch.
Yeah.
And they're going to trade the pre-owned to us because we'll give them a higher offer than what they would get elsewhere. They use that funds to go and purchase the new watch. Yeah,
I think we're doing a lot more part exchange now than ever as well, rather than outright sale.
Yeah, definitely. It seems to be this month. It's difficult for us to actually sell a watch. You're selling one and you're receiving 2. The numbers speak for themselves for the amount of watches that we've bought in, come into the business and that have exited the business. There's a lot more of that to come in. Yeah. It seems to be the case where people are trading in 2, 3, 4 watches even sometimes and buying one. The next questions come from YouTube. The question is, what checks do you do on stock that you receive via the post?
I think first of all, we'll do a visual inspection. We've got a service centre, workshop where we can do additional checks. I think a lot of the time it depends on the source or the person that's brought the watch in. And I think if they have a story, if there's not a card, I think you can tell about the origin of a watch by the person that's brought it in, more than anything else. But I think we also handle a lot of watches. We see a lot of watches every day, and I think we've got a good gauge on whether something's genuine or perhaps suspicious or not.
Yeah, well, you have to start at the top of the funnel for us, really. So we're going to get an inquiry, we're going to receive information from the client about his watch, we're going to receive photographs. So just by looking at those photographs, 9 times out of 10 we can authenticate the watch on that basis. If a deal's been agreed, whether it's a purchase or a consignment, the customer will receive a purchase or a consignment agreement. Once it comes into our store, we'll check it in. If we have any doubts regarding the authenticity of the watch, for whatever reason, if it's an older watch, if it comes with our papers, then it'll go to our service centre to be fully inspected and checked. We'll also have it tested for timekeeping, and then we'll decide whether the watch needs a polish or if it needs serviced before.
Yeah.
We put it out for sale.
And the watch register automatically checks to see if it's been registered, it's stolen or lost, or there's been an insurance claim against the watch. Every single watch that comes into our business is checked.
And also checks on the person. So person's ID, the bank details matches the person. So regardless of the watch, we do our due diligence on the person who's actually selling us the watch.
So the next question from YouTube is, guys, what's your opinion on a Rolex Sea-Dweller 4000 116600 as a future classic?
My personal opinion is definitely there's very few, I would say less than a handful potentially actually for sale in the UK market. The 11 reference, it has the ceramic bezel, 40mm. It has the date, but it doesn't have the cyclops on the glass. A very short production run from 2014 to 2017 with a market value of around 11 to 12,000 as a ballpark figure.
I would say with that watch as well, last year we probably bought and sold maybe 3 or 4.
If you just do a quick look online to find out how many are for sale, like I say, there's probably just going to be a handful in the UK. But then if you go and have a look at the 11 reference sub-date, for example, there's going to be hundreds.
Yeah.
So I definitely think a future classic. Now, probably going to kick myself, but I remember last year we did have a full set, fully stickered watch, which I was contemplating putting away in the safe. It went in the safe, but it ended up getting sold.
Can you remember how much it sold for?
I think it was about 11,000.
I think it was it's one of those watches. It was in the market when there wasn't so much demand for the watch, but it's one of those watches where if a client ever asked you, can you go and find this watch, brand new, full set, with receipt, full stickers, it's
a hard one.
Very hard watch
I
to find.
think when that watch was new and available at the ADs, the problem was it was so similar to the Submariner at the time, and the Sea-Dweller was a few £1,000s more, so nearly everybody chose the Submariner.
First thought to somebody, are you going to take a Sea-Dweller or a sub in retail? It's always going to be a sub, in my opinion.
I think even now, if you look at some of those watches are 10 years old, they're the same price as a brand new sub-date. So I still think the majority of people would rather have a 2023, 2024 sub-date for the same money.
The main thing is going to be on the production level. So you're probably talking, 3 years of production for that watch. To answer that question is going to be a future classic. So if you have got one, hopefully you have got one, and put it away, and let's see what the future holds. So we have a question come from Instagram. Where do you see the green dial Cubitus settling once the initial hype dies down? I think he's talking price-wise. So we're talking about the new range, the Cubitus collection, which was announced, I think, last week at an event in Munich, in Germany. And I think pretty much the watches were available in the ADs to view for the VIP clients straight off the belt, to be honest with you. And I've seen a few in our trade group chats, starting, as you would expect, a ridiculous amount. I'm talking $200,000 for a £35,000 watch. Whether that initial watch sold, I do not know. I've never actually seen any sell, anybody agree, any deal, but the prices are already, within the last couple of days, I've seen come right down, what you would expect.
I just think it's a steel Patek at the end of the day. It's a new release. It seems quite bigger because it's square. It's a 45mm watch. It's the 58211A.
So it comes in platinum.
Right.
It comes in steel and gold two-tone.
With a blue
but
dial.
I think the most sought after is going to be the steel with the green dial, which is around £35,000 list.
45mm, which sounds massive. That must be diagonal.
Yeah, it is. The square watches, the size always seems a lot bigger.
Do you actually like the look of the watch?
No, I think it looks like an Apple Watch, but I think it's just because I'm so used to looking at Nautilus and Aquanaut.
I'm sure the viewers will correct us if I'm wrong, but I believe it's the last time Patek actually brought out a new line was over 20 years ago. Me personally, I've had a lot of calls by customers and clients who I deal with who've actually had the call where they've been invited to go and see this watch and potentially purchase it. Are Patek going to make any more watches than what they're currently making now? There's an extra model or there's an extra line involved in the current lineup? Probably no. So it's going to be in small numbers, and I think my estimation is going to trade for around 3x RRP.
Do you think
this is the steel version?
Do you think at the moment an end user would pay about 150,000 for one?
Have you had a phone call, somebody willing to pull out the card and pay 150 grand for one? Because I've not.
No, well, that's it.
But you're definitely not going to be able to buy it as your first Patek, 100%.
And it's also interesting that with the 5711, they made the green in very limited numbers at a later date, whereas they've released the blue and green dial with this watch in the same sort of volumes, and the green one's not limited. Do you think the green will have a premium to the blue?
So they don't have it in blue, John? It only comes in green?
All right. It does come with blue and bimetal.
So hold on, is the blue one with the blue strap, is that platinum?
So that's platinum.
Right,
That's
okay.
a P.
Do you think they're going to bring out a Cubanaut?
An Aqua Cube.
An Aqua Cube.
So the next question from Instagram is the best watches for 2 to 3K.
In my opinion, best watches for 2 to 3K, so I'm probably going to go with Tudor GMT. Tudor, ballpark 2.5 to 3 grand in steel, date function, perfect daily watch, and also another Tudor, maybe the Black Bay Pro, similar priced, around £3,000, smaller case, 39mm with a date. In my opinion, those two are also a speedy of some sort.
Yeah, I think you might get an older Omega Speedmaster for less than 3,000. They're very popular. We'll sell them as soon as they come in stock. And I think you're right with Tudor.
In my opinion, for that price point, it's a luxury, but you want to be wearing it every day. So I don't think you can go wrong with what we've discussed, the Tudor and also the Speedy.
The Black Bay Pro is a perfect watch to wear every day.
Yeah.
We can offer good discounts, so they're available for less than 3,000.
Well, that's only our personal opinion. So,
Yeah.
So let's also ask the audience and drop us in the comments what your thoughts are. If you have any other suggestions for a watch between £2,000 and £3,000, just let us know. Okay, moving on. So we have a question which has come from Instagram this time. How do you see the future of the famous John Mayer yellow gold green dial Daytona? Do you get people emailing, calling, texting, WhatsApping, wanting to buy this watch, or is it more people wanting to sell it?
Not really. I think a year ago when they were discontinued, then we were getting offered hundreds of them, and I think everybody was hoping that on the day they got discontinued, the value would shoot up, and in reality, the market was flooded. They probably came down in value when they got discontinued.
I remember, so what was it? Was it also 2022 when they expected the watch to be discontinued? It didn't happen.
Yeah.
So people stockpiled, put the money, remortgaged the homes. I think so many people had this watch, and we're not just talking one. Some people had multiple. In 2023, when the watch got discontinued, the floodgates just opened with the number of watches on the market. It was unbelievable, to be honest with you. And obviously the demand for people wanting to buy the watches just wasn't there. It's had a bit of a roller coaster ride, in my opinion. The watch came out in 2016 till 2023. And I'm talking ballpark figure, when it first came out, the watch might have been 35,000, right up to above 100k.
Yeah.
And now it's going to have settled down to half that, depending on which year and condition. Fair enough, if the watch is brand new, fully stickered, it might demand a price tag of around 65,000.
Yeah.
But they're available as an average price point of between 50 and 60,000 pounds.
Still a massive premium for a watch that cost around 30,000, but I don't think they're going to go anywhere near where they were.
If that's the watch that you like, and you're not buying it as an investment, you're buying it because you want to wear the watch, you want to own the watch, I think it's a great time to buy it.
I think the people buying that watch are people that are priced back in. Now it's 50, 60,000 rather than 100,000.
In your opinion, can you see the watch going down in price? Is it going below 50,000?
I don't think so. I think it's settled, but I don't think it's going to shoot back up at any time soon. So, next question from Instagram. Best watch for people with big wrists and forearms.
This is coming from, can I say this guy's name? So this is from the Greek Warrior on Instagram. I'm not too sure how big this guy is, but if he's a warrior and he's Greek, maybe some size. So potentially he could be the first. Well, maybe in Greece, because I've never seen anybody in England. Why don't I suggest he buys the 50 mil Challenger? I've never actually seen anybody wear that watch, so let him go with the Challenger. Or if he's a Greek warrior and he's good at being a warrior and he's got a lot of money, he might go with the yellow gold version
of the Deepsea with a blue dial. Yeah. Good watch. So I think with just your average person, if they're not a warrior, but they have a larger than average wrist and forearm, if you're looking at Rolex, I think obviously you'd look at the Deepsea. The Sky-Dweller's quite a big watch.
Depending on your price point, but yeah, so you've also got offshores.
Yeah, they're big watches. I don't know, for a budget of between 5,000 and 10,000, I think Panerai is always a good brand. They tend to be bigger than most watches.
Planet Ocean.
Yeah, I was about to say Amiga.
There's so many different options. It would all depend on your price point, what you actually want from the watch. But there's lots of options out there. But I would love to see somebody wear the Challenger, to be honest. So
just in a pub.
Go with the Challenger. Actually, it's not called the Challenger. It's called the
Challenge. Yeah. So this is another question from Instagram, and the question is the steel Royal Oak skeleton or the Royal Oak Perpetual Calendar a better buy?
Both pieces were produced for a similar amount of time, and both have had a roller coaster ride, going up to around 200,000. And in the market, Perpetual Calendar Blue was probably ballpark 80 to 100,000. The skeletons maybe slightly more, 100 to 120 is a ballpark figure. Better buy. It all depends on what you want from the watch. It all depends on if you want the complications of the Perpetual Calendar or if you want the beauty of the skeleton.
Would you say that the skeleton's a cooler watch?
Yes. Definitely. So I would say the skeleton, there's probably less in the market than the Perpetual Calendar in blue, but then you've also got the Perpetual Calendar in white. You have in ceramic. You also have the skeleton in ceramic, the different metals.
So John, when you say cooler watch, what do
appeal.
you mean?
I see the skeleton.
Who do you think wears the skeleton?
I think the skeleton's more of a footballer's watch, whereas the Perpetual Calendar's more of a sophisticated guy's watch. I don't know, a doctor or something like that.
A distinguished collector.
Yeah.
I think both of them, you have to be a serious watch collector to own either.
How many skeletons have you bought and sold in the last 12 months in comparison to the Perpetual Calendars?
I haven't bought or sold a Perpetual in blue for probably 12 months. The last one I had, I actually wore it for a little bit. I love the watch. And the skeleton, maybe in 2024, I may have sold 2-3 pieces in steel. I would probably say the demand's higher for the skeleton over the Perpetual Calendar.
Yeah, I would agree.
But the market price is very similar. The skeleton is a lot more saleable and a lot more liquid than the Perpetual Calendar.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, moving on from a question we received from Instagram. The guy's asking, is the Yacht-Master 40 slate dial the most underrated Rolex?
I think it is one of the very underrated Rolex models. I think it's subtle, it's cool. The ice blue hands make it a bit different.
So how much is that watch ballpark in the market?
The list price is about 10,500. We sell them probably for around 12,000 for a brand new one, which isn't a great deal over the list price. I think something like a black GMT, one of the later models, but one of the older ones like a 2018 or 2019 would be my choice. But
for the similar sort of price
sort of price range of watch that's underrated.
Okay.
When you look at the same watch with the red and blue bezels, £6,000 more.
And how are you seeing the difference in the market price between the grey rhodium dial compared to the blue?
I think it's probably between £500 and £1,000 more for the rhodium dial. I think the blue dial's probably...
Would it not be more?
Maybe £1,000 difference, just about that sort of amount.
Okay.
What kind of buyer do you think buys a Yacht-Master over a Submariner or a GMT-Master?
Maybe somebody that just wants something different, personal. It's just personal preference. Maybe they've had a sub. Maybe they've had something steel and gold. Maybe I personally really like the the rhodium dial watch.
Would you say that either colour dial Yacht-Master is a lot easier to get than a Submariner or GMT from an AD?
I couldn't answer that one. I've never been offered either.
I would say so, but again, that's my opinion based on what we're offered.
I would say that you, being the buyer, are going to be offered a lot more steel subs than what you are Yacht-Masters. Is that true?
Yes, but I think that you've probably got to buy more watches to be offered a steel sub date than you have a Yacht-Master with a rhodium dial.
So you think potentially someone can put this Yacht-Master down as the first watch, the first
maybe
pick?
the second or the third.
Yeah.
Whereas I think you've probably got to play the game a bit more to get a steel sub or a green sub.
In my opinion, that's just a pointless waste of time, because you jump into the grey market, you're going to buy a perfect pre-owned for around RRP. I'm pretty sure that we sold a one last week for 10,500, full set, box and papers, maybe 1 year old. So why wait? You know,
exactly.
This is a watch to go into the grey market and buy.
Let's compare it to a sub date. You might pay 1,000 more than the list price from Rolex, but that's as opposed to spending 8,000 or 9,000 on a date just that you don't necessarily want.
So going back to his question, is it the most underrated Rolex?
It is one of them, but yeah, like we said, it's personal choice. I think if you can get it for 1,000 or closer to the list price, then it's a good choice.
Definitely one of my top picks.
So that pretty much goes straight into our next question. And the question from Instagram is, I've been waiting 2.5 years for a 126610 LN, which is a Submariner date with a black bezel, the steel. Despite buying a Datejust 36mm 5 years ago, is the call likely soon?
Pretty difficult to answer that question, to be honest with you. Maybe he wants to give the guy a call and find out what's happening with his blinking watch, to be honest with you.
I think 5 years is a very long time, and I think not only has it not been sued, I don't think that call's coming, if I'm honest. What you have to consider is, for a sub date, there's going to be thousands and thousands of people on these lists all over the UK, all over Europe and the world. And I just think that there's people...
Listen, if you're waiting 5 years...
that have been a bit more proactive in their inquiries.
Yeah, I definitely don't think he hasn't been so proactive in his pushing to get this watch. But if you've been waiting 5 years, that is absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. If you want a watch, go and buy the watch. If you're still on the list and you manage to get a call, which this chap unfortunately hasn't after 5 years, but if he does, then you're going to sell either the one that you've purchased in the grey market or the brand new watch. Just buy the actual watch that you want. Just get it over and done with. Why wait 5 years? You could have had 3 or 4 kids in between that stage. Yeah, so he started off on a 1-1 reference, and they've moved him to a 1-2 reference. He could have started a handsome young chap with a little bit of money, buying a Datejust. Now he's married with 3 kids. He's got lots of responsibilities. He still hasn't got the watch that he wanted. Now he hasn't got the money to buy the watch.
What I think with ADs is, it's a case of being there and being in the face and asking them regularly and just making yourself like present. The thing is, there's no science to it. You see people will walk in and they'll get what they want within 6 months. And you'll get people waiting 5 years and they'll never get a phone call.
There's loads of options in the 1-2 reference. You know, to buy a pre-owned watch, just go and buy the pre-owned watch. Buy the watch, wear the watch. If you get the call perfect, then decide what you want to do from then. We
sold a 2020 unworn sub-date, that reference 126610 LN last week for 10,250.
Okay, so just over £1,000 over RRP.
Exactly. So,
for example, if he picked up that watch from us, so he's paid 10,250, correct?
Yeah,
we've made our small margin on the watch. After 2.5 years, it just so happens the next week or the next day, he gets a phone call from his AD and they offer him that watch. How much would you buy that watch for?
Brand new 2024 unworn, 9,500.
Okay.
And I've 10,000 on consignment. And in reality, that watch, that's a day old, is exactly the same as the unworn one.
Decision he has to make is the watch is, if he sells the brand new watch to you, it's cost him around £700 to get into the watch, and he doesn't have to wait.
Yeah, exactly.
Question from YouTube this time: what's the average price to service a vintage Rolex? It's a pretty vague question, but we can answer it in some description.
I think for a standard service, if the watch doesn't need any additional parts, you're probably looking at £300 or £400 with us. That's in our service centre, which we provide a guarantee. Obviously, if it needs any parts, we can source original Rolex parts for probably half the price of Rolex at the most, maybe even less.
A standard service in Rolex is going to be around £750 to £800 and plus VAT, plus parts.
Yeah.
So we could offer that service for less than half.
I'd be pretty sure as well, quite often when a watch goes to Rolex, it takes like 6 months sometimes, or quite often, whereas we would like to turn it around in a month at the very most, often in a couple of weeks.
I would definitely say that we can have the watch turned around faster, working with our service centre, and probably less than half of the actual cost. But to service a vintage Rolex, including parts, is going to be ballpark around £500.
Yeah, obviously just depends on what it might need and how it's been looked after.
Yeah, definitely.
From Instagram, what are the only 5 Rolexes that someone has to have in their collection?
For me, my personal preferences, off the top of my head, I'm just going to go with some modern pieces. I'm going to go with white gold GMT meteorite dial. I'm also going to go with steel Daytona, whether it's white dial, ceramic or non-ceramic. I'm not too fussed, but I would have that in my collection. I would also have a steel sub. I would also have a oysteflex of some description. It's going to be probably a Daytona. Ideally, I like a meteorite Daytona, oysteflex. And I'll go with a Day-Date, and I'll make it an olive.
I was going to say olive. So that would
be a
be
dress watch.
That would be my Day-Date. I'd even have a white gold olive.
Would you have a birth? Yeah, watch?
Yeah, a 36mm Day-Date in yellow gold. Wouldn't wear it much, but cool watch. I like a Sprite because I'm left-handed, so that would be my GMT. Oysteflex Yacht-Master, I think, are quite cool. Just for something that's sporty and that you can wear. That's precious metal, but it's not too much with the black.
I think it would be nice to have a collection, if we're talking about a 5-piece collection, a 5-piece collection of modern and a 5-piece collection of vintage.
Yeah, definitely.
That would be nice.
I think I like a sub non-date as well. I think that would be in there. Final question from Instagram. Where is the market in 12 months?
John, in my opinion, demand is always going to be there. And so as long as the demand's there, the market's going to be strong. I think prices are going to stay steady, increase somewhat slightly over the 12-month period. I think from 12 months from now, I think prices are going to increase. I think with the list price now, especially if we're talking Rolex on precious metal watches, the list price is so high and you can get good deals in the pre-owned market. A lot of those watches are going to be sport and sold, so I see the price of precious metal pre-owned increasing somewhat to reflect the price of the unworn.
Do you think with the precious metal pieces, there'll be more of those in the window? Do you think they'll ever offer discount on them again?
Depending on which country. In the UK, I would probably say no. I think we'll just use it as a tactical move to make people potentially buy other things and make more packages or make more promises from the ADs, what you tend to see in the UK. Outside of the UK and other European countries, for example, potentially. But I do see an increase in pre-owned, especially in precious metal.
I think it goes back to the question about will we see sports models in the window, and I think the answer to that's no, and they'll always use the precious metal watches as leverage for people to get the steel sports models that they want.
Stu, do you think the prices going steadily up, is that just based on the fact that the RRP is very likely to go up over time? So do you think the pre-owned prices will go up in line with the RRP, or do you think there's some other factor behind why?
No, I just think in general, if you look at the normal charts, disregard COVID, everything increases over time. The Rolex prices, if we're talking about Rolexes will always increase over time. I think if you buy something correctly, if you like the watch, go out and buy the watch. It's a good time to buy it, and I think in 12 months' time you're going to be, pretty happy with your purchase.
And do you think the prices have kind of slowed down their rate of decline because the people who were looking to sell have sold?
Yeah, I think, but at this stage now, a lot of people who bought watches as an investment have now put the watches back into the market. there may be some people who haven't had the need for the funds and they've thought, I'll just hold on to them and see what happens. But I think the majority of people have had the throats cut, took the losses, the watches have gone back into the market at the correct price.
I think that COVID created a lot more hype and awareness about Rolexes, and there was a lot more people buying them that never did before, purely because they thought they were an investment. But I think you have to look at them maybe over a medium to long term, like over 3 years, over 5 years. I think in 12 months, if you bought something now and tried to sell it at 12 months, you'll have bought it at a retail price now. You'll be selling it at a trade price, so you won't necessarily see any increase.
If we're talking specifically market price, do you think in 12 months' time, October 2025, do you think a sub-date will still be 12k?
No, I think for
£500 more.
Yeah,
maybe?
I think an increase of around £500, give or take. Bread and butter watch, Submariner date. We're saying October 2024 is £12,000 to buy in the pre-owned market from a reputable dealer like ourselves. This time next year, you're going to be paying $12,500 for the same watch.
Yeah, I would agree.
Ceramic Daytona, ballpark. So that watch is a lot newer than the sub-date. Okay, and so
they're a lot more limited when they first came out as well. It took a while for them to come through.
And it has settled down price-wise quite a few £1,000s. So ballpark figure, I do say ballpark quite a lot to be honest with you. But today's market price is
27,000 for a brand new white dial.
Say 27,000, and I would expect that watch definitely to increase in this time next year.
I would say that it'll be similar.
I think minimum £1,000 more. Minimum.
Well, you'd think by that time the list price will have went up, and that might be reflected a little bit in the market.
That's the thing. What I find is with a sub-date that costs £9,000, it going up 5 or 6% is a £500 increase. That 5% increase on a £30,000 Oysteflex Daytona is then a couple of thousand, which is significant. Look, over 5 years, it's then £10,000 more expensive than it is today. So it's all relative, really.
My personal opinion, I think both watches will be increased. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. And if you want to see more content like this, consider subscribing.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Today I'm wearing the beautiful Aquanaut.
And I'm wearing the equally beautiful GMT root beer.
Call John beautiful as well.
The beautiful John.